Welcome to Cave Springs Conservation Area. My name is Alicia Powell and I'm the Manager of Conservation Area Services with the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority. We're here outside of one of our most beautiful conservation areas, just outside of the Niagara Escarpment. We're going to be exploring this site because it's a really important ecological and natural heritage site, a really important site geologically, and there are some really incredible cultural historical moments that we'd love to share with you. Here you can see the beautiful escarpment as it rises out from the ground, and you can also see the iconic red barn. Let's go take a look. One of the original owners in recent history of the Cave Springs Conservation Area was called Margaret Reed. She's a really interesting personality in the Lincoln area, and there's a lot of heritage about her. And this is a really important site for us too, because this barn's been here for quite a while. In fact, in the early 1900s, it was known as a jail. The Niagara Escarpment along the town of Lincoln is known as the heart of the Carolinian forest here in Ontario. There are more species of plants, trees, animals, and insects here than anywhere else in this country. Now here at Cave Springs, we have a whole arboretum dedicated to some of those diverse Carolinian forest trees that we see. Here we have a dominant sugar maple forest, and I'm going to show you some of those really old, beautiful sugar maples when we head into the trail. We're just outside of the Niagara Escarpment's Bruce Trail. Now, what makes Cave Springs special is that it was actually the first place where the first blaze was put into the landscape for what became the Bruce Trail. That blaze was cut in 1962, and if you head up the trail, you'll see the sign that marks the first blaze that was cut. Now, one thing that's really special about this place is that we understand from archaeology as well as from oral history that this is an important settlement of the neutral peoples, the indigenous peoples that were here around 800 AD. They built log houses and were doing a lot of agriculture on the land as well. Cave Springs is known for some of the rock carvings here along the escarpment. Although much of it has been removed from the rock face, there is one remaining rock carving that we see here today. Take a look at the Chief's head as it's carved into the limestone. We're just outside of a really fantastic segment of the Niagara Escarpment Trail. The Niagara Escarpment was formed over 450 million years ago, when this space was the bottom of a tropical ocean. All of those layers of sediment contributed to make these wonderful rock layers of sedimentary rock that we see here today. Now, 11,000 years ago, the last glacier in the area would have receded and carved out what's known as the Niagara Escarpment today. That left behind the largest of the Great Lakes, Lake Iroquois. And Lake Iroquois has receded to create our Great Lake systems as we see here today. When you're looking out over the escarpment down towards Lake Ontario, you'll see the wonderful shoreline that Lake Iroquois left behind. Very important layers of silt and sediment contributed to our soils that we see here today. And that's what makes this area so significant and special for tenderfruit cultivation and all the wonderful vineyards and wineries that we see on our way here to Cave Springs. When you're coming to view Cave Springs Conservation Area and hike along the trails that we have here at the conservation area, it's really important that you follow some simple rules. For example, wearing comfortable hiking shoes or boots, making sure that you wear long pants, ensuring that you bring along your water, and telling someone where you're going and when you expect to be back. Because when you're here captivated by the beauty of the trail and the forest around you, it's easy to get swept away in time. It's also important that you stay to the trails and avoid coming into contact with plants, animals, and their habitat. We ask folks to leave no trace and take only memories. My friends, when you're visiting this space, it's really important that we're preserving the natural, cultural, and geological heritage of this site and leaving the space for the very important purpose that it serves as a significant ecosystem and habitat for so many rare species. So we're here along the trail at Cave Springs. Take a look at the magnificent sugar maples all around us, like this one right here. Some of them could be hundreds of years old because this site has been protected and maintained for so many years. Here you can see the beautiful rise of the Niagara Escarpment, which is a significant geological feature and a really important biosphere, which means it's an important habitat for so many different plants and animals. Now, the Niagara Escarpment and here at Cave Springs Conservation Area, it's a perfect place to see birds of prey and migrating songbirds. There are many different types of plant species as well, like false Solomon seal, and just behind me you can see some flowering jewelweed, which is known as an antidote to poison ivy. let's take a look at some of the ice caves. Here we are in fall, right in the heart of the season. We wanted to give you a glimpse of what the site looks like at this time of the year. If you take a look around us, you'll see the beautiful species that are so indicative of the diversity of this site. From the beautiful sugar maples that are coloring up so bright orange and red, to the Virginia creeper that you'll see, the vines twisting their ways around the trees, coloring up so brightly. Come and take a look at the ice caves. Let's see. Now, this is a very special place, and it's been a really important part of history for a long, long time. In fact, when original European settlers were in the area, they utilized this space as a type of refrigerator. In fact, there are stories and legend that tell us of folks that climbed down into the ice caves in the middle of the summertime and pulled out blocks of ice. Just behind us as well, there's a magnesium spring. It's why the place is called Cave Springs. This cave spring is a little bit different than the way that it would have looked. You see, early settlers came and realized the very valuable purposes of that magnesium spring water. And in fact, in the early 1900s, that water was being trucked out of here from Lincoln all the way into Hamilton to be sold as a medicine for stomach upsets. Now, in the 1930s, some wise thinking farmer thought, let's expand the cave and turn it into a type of cellar. Well, unfortunately, that work didn't happen and the cave collapsed, and that's the way that we see it today. There are stories of folks climbing down to look for what's known as an underground lake. Now, we don't know exactly where the entrance of that is today, but we understand from some stories that folks were able to access it just outside of a farm off of Quarry Road above us along the escarpment. Now, when we head down into the cave, we'll notice the change in temperature. Imagine being out in the warm air in the summertime, walking down a short way and feeling the cold. Let's go take a look. It's a lot cooler down here. You can really feel it. And if you were to head down into some of the other lower spots, it would be very cold as well. In fact, there are stories that are very recent that tell us about ice being pulled out of the area in mid-June. Come on in and take a look. Cave Springs is known as a very important site geologically as well. It's known as one of the best sites to see true talus slope. These are large rock formations that have made their way down the escarpment and collected over time. So you can see over my shoulder some of the very large rock pieces that make up the slope here at Cave Springs. Thank you so much for joining us on this virtual tour of Cave Springs Conservation Area. It was wonderful to get out with you. Now, if you're looking for more information to learn more about the area here, or perhaps to take a look at some of the native plant species that grow along the Niagara Escarpment and in Niagara, please visit us at npca.ca or check the link below. It's been really fantastic to get out and about and take a look at our beautiful natural spaces, what makes Lincoln and what makes Niagara so special. I hope that you've enjoyed, and hopefully we see you out on our trails someday soon. When you come to visit Cave Springs Conservation Area, we ask that you be mindful of our limited parking. Unfortunately, only parking that is available here right now is along the shoulders of our roadway. So please respect our neighbors by parking to the shoulders, and make sure that you stay away from the very front entrance gate to our park, so that just in case health and safety vehicles or emergency vehicles need to get in, that they're able to access the site.